This is the Fox Robbins Business Show. This is all about entrepreneurs, small business matters, anything and everything you ever wanted to know about small business.
Even stuff you didn't want to know.
And stuff you didn't want to know. Or you didn't want to be nagged about.
Well, I'm going to nag you until you do it right.
And I'm Bill Fox, co-host, but the other co-host, now this is a guy, you got to keep an eye on this guy because he is provocative.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's enthralling and he's engaging.
Oh,
and he's Coach Robbins.
I understood the engaging part. Actually, I'm married. I've been engaged a long time. Well, married a long time, I should say.
You're spoken for.
I'm spoken for.
Okay. And
I'm still waiting to go out the door.
You focused your marketing plan.
I'm still after 200 shows waiting to go out the door and have a bevy of, young women out there screaming my name, but haven't seen it yet. I've given up hope.
It's coming.
I doubt it.
We're going to talk again about 7 stupid branding mistakes that are typical of smaller sized businesses. That's funny because I see plenty of big businesses making stupid mistakes.
I was going to say, I've seen some big businesses make some really dumb branding mistakes.
Well, Coach, would you explain to me why Sears and Roebuck is going out of business? Okay, I mean, and why they're bankrupt and they're in the
because
tank.
they got stuck in the middle is the expression that we use in marketing. Teacher marketing was saying, what's your position? Talk market. And Tom's of Maine is the brand when it comes to all natural toothpaste. Crest is the brand when you want to fight cavities, and that's their brand identity, Yeah. What's Sears? Yeah. I mean, Sears tried to be all things to everybody, and they wound up being nothing to everybody, and they lost control of whatever Sears used to be, all right? And now all of these niche players picked off parts of what Sears was doing and do it better because they focus, right? They took a niche or niche. We can go over that one again, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But, it's, if big business, lots of people got money, they've got consultants, they've got high-paid executives, they got everything.
Yeah.
And they go on the tank.
Lucent Technology. They had the deepest pockets in the industry.
Right.
They had more stockholders than any company on the planet. And they've lost who they were. Now just tried to spend their way out of it because the dinosaurs that ran the company, what do they say about old knowledge that's not up to date? Yeah. Can get you in a lot of trouble.
He's talking about but that used to be known as AT&T.
Was AT&T, but their division, Bell Labs.
They made the actual.
Right, Bell Labs was they actually made the phones, and they'd make a $2 phone and rent it to you for $9 a month. They had deep pockets, but they lost who they were. They just had no cohesive strategy, and the stock went from $88 a share to $1 a share inside of 2 years.
So that's a big company. And what chance does a small company have then?
A lot of chance. Pay attention to the Fox Robbins Business Show. They've got a good chance. As far as I'm concerned, the most important and the most valuable thing you will build is the brand identity. That is exactly what you're going to sell someday. Small business, like I say, you go into business for 3 reasons. Number 1, you eat every day, you need a job. All right? Yeah. Number 2, you should be paid a salary for doing that job. Actually, that's number 1. Number 2, you should also make a profit for the risk and the investment you're making. And then when you do things right and create a brand, a strong brand in your niche market, you got something you can sell. And that's what you hope to sell when you turn 65 and retire. And that's your nest egg, which is, as we did some shows, 75 small businesses don't sell because they don't know how to really get the business up and running. Brand identity, that is that brand that's something to sell.
You look at the big the author. By the way, the author is Susan Patel. She always gives out good advice.
She's pretty good. Yeah, I like her too.
She says you can learn from some of the best of the big guys. Yeah. Of course, above all else, Coca-Cola, distinctive white, red and white lettering. or the Nike, the Nike swoosh thing, or the Adidas, three
stripe,
triple,
yeah,
all of that kind
all
of stuff.
McDonald's golden arches. You're not going to get in blue. It's golden arches. That's what it is. Everybody knows what that means.
But the author says, but as a small business, imagining the level of investment that's gone into these iconic images makes the idea of understanding a branding initiative overwhelming. So
Absolutely.
a big business looks at that and say, how am I going to duplicate, Coca-Cola or Adidas?
Right.
But the author says, it's actually easier to do than you imagine.
It is actually.
That's her theme.
But you got to be consistent. You got to stick with it, and you got to defend that brand identity almost violently. Say, this is who we are, and this is who we're portraying to the market, who we are, and what makes us better and different.
So the author says, make sure you avoid some common pitfalls and branding mistakes. Starting number one, Coach, is not even understanding the brand. Mm-hmm. Not even understanding that. The author says, having a strong brand is advantageous. Example, buyers think of Zappos for online shoe purchase. Businesses need that kind of immediate, definitive relationship with a buyer.
You bet.
Defining your brand is valuable from an internet SEO perspective. SEO, what's that? That's an
engine optimization.
Search engine optimization. Yep. That's making sure, that's taking steps to make sure that your brand appears at the top of the list.
Right. When somebody searches genetically for something, your brand comes right.
Because Google, the author points out that at Google, which is the big, the big 800-pound gorilla with a machete. They're the big guys in the valley.
Are they ever?
They prioritize brand listings.
Well, it's the second most recognized and valuable brand on the planet is Google. It used to be Coca-Cola was number one internationally. Yeah. Coca-Cola, and you can go to China, and if I put that Coca-Cola logo and I don't read Mandarin, I can tell you right away, that's Coke. That's Coca-Cola. Yeah. And Google is so powerful, they're the second most valuable and recognized brand on the planet. You want to take a guess who's number one now?
Is it Apple? Or
it is Apple.
Apple.
That Apple, that half,
well,
not half.
Apple, the bite out of it.
Yeah, silver Apple. And that has morphed over the years too.
But the small business has to be aware that Google, which is the search engine for the internet, they prioritize
your
listing.
Yep.
Or you're off the chart.
Right.
Or there's
if you're on page 2, nobody's going to go there.
So visitors are likely to click on the first ones.
First 2 or 3. Yeah. Right.
More clicks tend to and more clicking on your listing tends to equal happier customers, which means that focusing on a brand building could lead to unexpected web traffic and awareness benefits.
You bet.
So understand the power, and understand now the modern tool known as the internet.
Oh, it's huge.
And number two, the author says, forgetting to establish defined brand guidelines, Coach. Like, what does it mean to develop a brand? Establish defined guidelines that cover all of the following elements. Defined elements of your branding. Logo.
Yep.
Brand taglines.
Yep.
Font. Font, for God's sake.
Yep.
The style and the size.
Yep.
Typography, voice, so to speak, imagery, and or mascots or salespersons.
Sure.
The gecko. The duck.
Well, I mean, gecko. The duck is Aflac. The gecko is Geico. Geico actually, they spend $1 billion with a B dollars a year staying in front of your face. They have a lot of different brands that they use. They used to have the caveman. It's so simple a caveman can do it. They moved on to the Gecko. Somebody else came up with that. I mean, Geico is in your face constantly, you know, and Allstate, you know, they're now battling back, and State Farm, they're battling back, which, you know, insurance companies, that's the greatest business in the world, in my opinion. If I'm the insurance company, you give me your money, and maybe once in a while I have to give it back to you. And I give you nothing but a piece of paper that says, okay, if something goes wrong, I'll give it back to you. And if nothing goes wrong, you're not getting it back. That's a great business.
The author is trying to drill into your mind. Logo, and color, design, font, size,
I can put
voice,
that
imagery, mascot.
I can put that all in 2 words. Look and feel. Look and feel. What's the look and feel of your company? Well, it's 3 words. Okay. What's the look and feel? You know, the Coca-Cola's red on white, and it's that script, and it has changed very little over the years. It changed a little bit from 100 years ago, but still basically the same. IBM is big blue. IBM with the slashes across it. You know, it's exactly what it is, big blue. It's not just the New York Giants. Well, I used to like, but now I hate since 2007 or 8.
And still, the author is still talking. The author is still talking about the guidelines for branding. She says that the list that she just gave you, logo, brand color, tagline, font, voice, imagery, mascot, this list is not comprehensive, she says.
No.
Add other branding characteristics necessary to define your business to the brand guidelines. The worst thing you could do is to avoid creating important documents altogether. Without them, your branding effort will lack consistency and direction. So, here, by the way, speaking of Coke, here's Coke.
Yeah.
But, you know, this reinforces what you just told the audience. The top is original, but that's original, like going back to like 1890 or something.
That's before you were born, even.
Yeah, well, a little bit, just 2 years.
Not me.
And the bottom is today. Tell me the difference.
There's very little difference, but they do defend their brand violently. I mean, Nike used to have the word Nike in between the swoosh, if you can remember back just 10 years ago. It used to be swoosh with Nike written on it, and then they took Nike off. And today, what have we got? We have Amazon, A to Z, with the little line underneath that kind of looks like a smirk, but it says A to Z, that little line underneath with the arrowhead. Now it's gone. I get boxes in the mail, and I know because they've got their, well, I don't even know what they call that thing right now, but it's a little smirk arrow. The word's gone because that is representative of the brand. A brand is really the entire experience you get from a company. That's what the brand is, okay? That logo is a representation of the brand in a human being's mind, because we see things in pictures. If I say to you elephant, you don't see E-L-E-P. No, you see this big thing, long nose, floppy ears, right? We human beings are visual, and the brand power of that, the IBM logo, the McDonald's golden arches, right? And then you talk about, you know, the Gecko, or you're talking about the Caveman, or whoever you're talking about, or Flow, you know, for State Farm Insurance. That's State Farm, I forget. I mean, these the Progressive. Thank you. You know, those things are, you know, powerful brand identity creators.
Number 3, the author. Now, the author says, however, she says you could overcomplicate your brand.
Right.
She talks about Coca-Cola classic script logo has changed since 1887.
Yeah.
Fonts have varied slightly, but the original look is largely intact.
Look and
after
feel.
127 years.
Look and feel.
Which is exactly what you said.
Look and feel. Apple used to have a logo that had rainbow in it. Now it's just silver, but a bit still an apple with a bite out of it.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you're initiating your brand process, maybe businesses are guilty of adding more variables than needed. For instance, your logo does not 16 colors, 6 individual graphic elements represent different arms of your something clear, likely to be recognized and remembered.
Yep. Google is probably somebody that I toys with that colors thing because they change every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Google, of course, is a very unique name. You know, they created that name out of Google, which is some big number. Okay,
Yeah.
it's way beyond billion. You know, it's one with 1/10 to the 100th or something like that.
Yeah.
So Google is actually a representation of a big number. And they said Google, and now here's a company, and we actually have created a verb out of the word Google.
Yeah.
We Google. We do something. We Google every day. We Google. I Google 25 times a day. I talk to Google in my office. Okay, Google, what's this? Okay, Google, what's that?
Yeah.
And every once in a while, she doesn't really understand the question, and she'll tell me. And one time I actually swore at her, and she actually came back and said to me, there's no need to use language like that. So I have been chastised by artificial intelligence, AA. Won't be the last time.
Step 4 of this author, she talks about falling into a vague branding trap. The opposite direction, developing brand guidelines and elements that reveal nothing about your company or your value proposition.
Right.
Repetitive logos and advertising. What is she talking about? She says, well, so many people out there over the years have used things like best-selling books or championship golf course.
Right.
Or award-winning ad agency or whatever. And the author says, she points out, they really don't mean anything anymore.
Right, they're trite expressions.
So that's vague. It's called vague branding trap. She said, she quotes herself, Daniel Bernstein, the director of editorial content for MECLabs, calls lazy branding, wallpaper copywriting, as vague catch-all phrases often repeated like best-selling book, championship golf course, award-winning agency, best-tasting food, stuff that lost meaning. So the solution, clear language, logos and imagery, company logos that mimic the product in an unmistakable way, value propositions in the company tagline are clear. So don't fall into the vague branding trap and get lost.
The more specific you can define your brand, the more you differentiate yourself from everybody else, the more powerful your brand identity is going to be over time.
And another sin or crime, a stupid crime, she would call it a stupid crime, the author, cheating on your brand guidelines. And she said, the author says, so coach, you sat down, you crafted careful branding guidelines and implemented them across all the company's marketing materials and online properties, but 2 months later, just 2 months later, you need to create a new ad for a product line you're launching. You want colors outside the palette in your branding documentation. Can you do that? Question mark.
Sure you can. You'll confuse the hell out of your customers and your potential market, but you can do it, but that's also known as stupid.
Right. Keep in mind, she said, the author says, every time you deviate from your stated brand guideline, you dilute the power by some small amount.
Absolutely.
Or a big amount.
Yeah.
By doing so, you're essentially introducing a new brand image to your customer, diminishing strength of association that they've had to a more unified branding campaign. So, your brand line.
Right.
Don't get creative.
And don't differentiate it so that you confuse the marketplace as exactly who you are.
Get creative in a negative.
Exactly.
And
well, if you're, like I say, if you're Geico, and you're working with the caveman, which is the one that I can remember as being one of the earliest ones, so easy a caveman can do it, and you've got $1 billion to spend, you can then reintroduce it as the gecko, right?
Yeah.
So sure, they went away from the caveman, but if you got $1 billion in your budget you can spend on advertising, you're not a $10 billion company, then you better be very, very defensive of your brand identity.
By the way, if you caught it or not, you bring up that example, but that they're making fun of themselves. They have a new advertisement that features the different images that they've used. They got
Absolutely. They got the caveman.
a beauty salon with the caveman as being primped,
Right.
and the gecko.
He's
gecko,
being primped too,
the
right?
gecko. But they said, where's the camel?
Yeah. Okay, and
The camel's got his own.
he's got his own studio, right? I mean, they're great. But like I said, they got $1 billion to spend. You got $1 billion? Go ahead.
They
Bring
can
it all
afford to make
together.
fun of themselves.
Right. Oh yeah, they're great. No, they do a good job.
And the next mistake that the author talks about, or stupid mistake, I say stupid, don't shoot me. This is the author says, stupid mistake, not policing your brand image.
Right.
Developing and implementing your small business brand guidelines is only half the battle.
Mm-hmm.
In addition, you've got to be proactive.
Yep.
You monitor where and how others are using branded elements on your behalf.
Yep.
If not, you could have competitors creating a logo that looks similar.
Mm-hmm.
A review website using your logo and not linking back to a partner publishing an ad featuring your logo but with the wrong colors.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe situation, it may be necessary to pursue legal action.
Mm-hmm.
I remember, I told you before, I don't know why it's one of those stupid things that's stuck in my mind, is that in the buildup of strength of the big motel chain.
Yeah.
What am I thinking of? Holiday Inn.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Sorry.
Mm-hmm. Senior moment.
Senior moment.
Yeah. I get a lot of those.
Holiday Inn ramped up. I mean,
I've been getting them all my life.
They ramped up like a McDonald's.
Yeah.
I mean, they were building brand image and a brand delivery system nationwide. Somebody jumped in and created a sign that looked similar that said "Holiday Out."
Yeah. Yeah. Instead of Holiday
I don't
Inn.
know why. That's I know it's stupid. You don't have to tell me that. But you get a police.
You got to keep an eye on what's going on with your brand identity. You have to defend it. You have to defend it with your army of marketeers, I like to say.
Yeah.
And you better defend it no matter how you have to defend it, because that is something that is very valuable to your company, and you don't want anybody else encroaching on your territory.
If your brand and your brand delivery system is working, somebody else might be jealous.
Well, absolutely. And if they're jealous enough, maybe they'll buy your business for $1 billion.
Or they might be out there, planning your funeral.
Yeah, if they're big enough, you better have protected your brand. You better have it trademarked. You better, be using it on a regular basis, because those things go sour. Absolutely.
And the point 7 made by this author,
Yep.
7.7 stupid mistakes.
Yep.
Stupid mistake number 7, Coach, is rolling out brand changes poorly.
Mm-hmm.
This is implementation time.
Right.
Poor implementation.
Execution, right.
It's one thing about the funny thing about it. The greatest idea, no implementation.
Greatest idea in the world. If you can't execute it, it was not the greatest idea. Might have been the greatest idea, but it's not going to get you anywhere until you can actually get out there and do it. Hey, we're back to Nike. Just do it.
The author says there's nothing wrong about rebranding.
No.
Unless you approach it poorly.
Yeah.
And I remember I brought it to your
We're back to
attention.
Geico.
There was the ad that shows workmen on a roof, up on a roof with acetylene torches, and they're cutting the steel supports of an advertising sign on the building, and they cut the steel legs, and bam, this sign, falls down on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next shot is a brand new sign elevated to the roof.
Right.
That was Domino's.
Domino's
They're
Pizza.
But they said that sign that was cut down with the acetylene torches crashing ignominiously on the ground said Domino Pizza.
Right.
What did the new sign say?
Domino's.
Domino.
Because they sell a lot more than pizza. Let's get a close-up shot of this, will you, Alex, our producer? What does that say? What's that say on that cup?
Looks like Dunkin'.
It doesn't say Dunkin' Donuts anymore, does
Do you
it?
see the word donut on there?
No, they're rebranding, but still, it's still orange and it's got the little pink thing, and the word donut is gone because they sell a lot more than donuts, and they're actually sort of rebranding but defending their territory that it's now called Dunkin's, because all we ever called it was Dunkies. Federal Express rebranded themselves as FedEx because the market used to shorten it to
Market
FedEx.
said you're FedEx.
Yeah, and I know the
No, we're Federal Express.
nobody wants to call it. They call it FedEx. And Don Collender said, "Hey, if the market's going to tell us we're going to call us FedEx, then we're going to call ourselves FedEx too." He's the worldwide sales manager for FedEx. A good golfer too, by
So
the way.
the author says there's really nothing wrong with rebranding
No.
unless you approach it poorly.
But you do it, they're doing it right. Donkey's doing it right. Domino's is doing it right. They also have a big budget, so don't kid yourself. FedEx has got a real big budget.
Remember, any changes you make to your established brand reduces your connection with your customer.
Exactly.
It can reduce your
It
connection.
can if you're not careful about it.
Therefore, it's important to make changes. That,
Subtle changes,
makes
yeah.
it- yeah. Right.
Right. Yep.
So that's number 7, Coach.
Yep.
And try to avoid these stupid mistakes
Absolutely.
and go on from there. But you prepared your marketing plan first, and then
You wrote your marketing plan because you saw the first show we shot today.
Yeah, right.
And now you're starting to create a brand identity for yourself, and you're going to defend that brand identity and be consistent in promoting the brand identity to your target market.
And this is the Fox Robbins Business Show, and all of the episodes of this show are uploaded to YouTube.
Yep.
That's for convenience. There's now a growing library of choices. So go to YouTube, the search box at the top, just put in one single word, Fox Robbins, FOXROBBINS, one single word. Click and voila, there's a library of
There
topics.
we are.
Pick a topic that is of current interest or current need.
Right.
And have at it, and we will be adding more as we go forward.
Hopefully.
And thank you very much, and we will see you guys next time.